Broadcasting live from the Foghorn Brewhouse in the heart of Newcastle CBD. This is Lunatics Live. Please welcome your hosts, Greg Hall and Olivia Ollie.
Well, that was a great voiceover. Where'd that voice come from?
Was that Santa Claus that happened over Christmas while we were away?
That's right. Welcome, everybody, to the Lunatics Live, Episode 7. We've survived this far. In February 2017, coming live to you from the Foghorn Brewhouse here on King Street, Newcastle. And joining me is Olivia.
Hello, Gregory, and welcome to 2017.
Where I was... What exciting things have been happening for you? I mean, since we last were here.
Mostly resting and sleeping on the beach, but I didn't become homeless and sleep on the beach. Oh, hello! Here is my microphone.
It's come up live.
Thank you. 2017. Well, it's so far begun a big year. You know, I could talk about myself, but mostly what I'm interested in talking about tonight is innovation and disability. And what I love about this topic is that we get to discover things that don't usually come in our regular day-to-day lives.
Exactly. And I think the one thing, particularly with the extraordinary revolutions that are taking place in technology and the adaptive technologies, and I think we even had some characters talking about where we actually morph ourselves with our brains and literally become superhuman with our brain power with implanted technology. So almost like our smart card plugs in and out, like in the Terminator when he wanted to fly a helicopter, Terminator 2, and he dialed it up and he said, right, I'm going to have to fly an Apache. So he got the whole, downloaded it, and there he was flying the Apache. But I think the one thing about tech and disability is the big challenges that we face. We're all facing a tsunami of change, and in that, all of us, abled or with other abilities or disabilities, we are still going to be figuring out how it is that we can actually live the lives we want to live. So tonight, we've got some really interesting guests who are going to be joining us here, and they're going to talk to us about their experience of what they're doing and with the technologies that they're going to be working with.
We're also expanding a little bit further from just talking about technology, though, Greg. We're talking about innovation and thinking about things from a different angle, having a different attitude to how something can be done and portrayed. And I think that's exciting as well. Often we can get a little bit caught up with, is it an app or is it a website? But what I like about what's going to be spoken about today is people looking at an issue and finding ways to tackle it with their current technology or just with their sheer will of creative innovation.
Or just mother being the inventor of all, necessity being the mother invention.
Absolutely.
That was it. Got to get your metaphors correct. So at this stage, before we cover to our guest, however, we've got a little announcement, some tech news, don't we?
Oh, well, we're delaying the announcement tonight.
Oh, are we?
Yes, we are. It's very exciting.
So I had left that conversation, had I?
Yeah, you walked out.
I walked out.
Yeah, we'll do an announcement, kind of like throw it in the middle, like kind of just before the middle. It's a play on.
So we've joining us is a great crowd here at the Foghorn. Crowd, shout out, everybody. Yeah. So it's very good that they can join us here to talk about this issue, and I think it's really, really important. And of course, in this past 2 weeks, the whole issue of the NDIS and whether it's going to receive the really necessary investment has been challenged. And I think we had a fantastic piece that went to live on ABC 24 with was Henley, the Olympic. Yeah, Kurt Fearnley. Talking about very passionate, extraordinary conversation. But Olivia, who do we have sitting beside us here?
Our first speaker this evening on disability and innovation is Lloyd Valentine. Lloyd, you've been running the Healthy Change Challenge for quite some time. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
So Healthy Change Challenge is a healthy eating and exercise program for people with a disability and or mental illness. So basically, the challengers who are the participants in the program learn to conduct their own exercise sessions, to do their own cooking sessions, and they do it in collaborative teams. And they've been so successful at doing it that they're now doing it for the general public and for other marginalised groups as well. So it's a really cool dynamic we have between the group.
So effectively, you're an entrepreneur who's working in this space trying to bring about change, which, I mean, in many ways, for any entrepreneur can be a challenge. But what's been your experience so far?
Well, I've got a background in business law and finance, so I guess I come into the sector with a different way of looking at things to some people. But basically, we're looking at what the people are capable of doing, and we're only sort of just starting to touch on that now. A lot of them haven't been empowered before to prove what they're capable of, and that's what we're sort of tapping into. We believe that basically everyone has something to contribute and everyone wants to contribute. So that sort of is leading us on to another project we're working on called Leg Up Village. What we're doing at the moment is we're building a web application similar to Airtasker at the top level in a way, where people post paid jobs and tasks they want to outsource. But instead of people bidding for the work, we line up marginalised people to do the work. So we're talking people with a disability, mental illness, long-term unemployed, Indigenous elderly, people that need a leg up in society. And while they're doing those paid jobs and tasks, we're upskilling them to go into either mainstream employment or setting them up with their own business. So I've previously set up 3 people with a disability with their own businesses who haven't had any luck in the employment sector before, and basically provided them with the opportunity of setting up and running their own business. And through the contacts that we have, we've been able to set them up with little to no capital outlay for them. And we've got a really good support team for them. So it's essentially almost risk-free, because if things don't work out, they've got the safety net of the NDIA funding or the disability support pension there. But what we're finding is that by being empowered and by proving themselves, they're doing an amazing job. And one of those people has actually become completely independent of any government assistance whatsoever. So,
Lloyd, I'd like to just step back a little bit. Like, what's your association with people in disability? And by knowing how you got there, I'm interested in how you then interpreted giving them their own businesses.
So like I said, I had a background in business law and finance. I actually got really sick when I was living overseas, had to come back to Newcastle for treatment, was off work for a long time. And then when I started feeling better, I started volunteering in disability services, and immediately loved and was drawn to the people, but I just didn't like the way that they were being serviced. So I learnt the ropes of the sector for about 12 months before I started doing their own projects with the guys. But the health program that I actually wrote after 2 days of being a volunteer in the program, because I could see straight away that people love variety. They don't like doing the same things all the time. They just hadn't been presented with that opportunity. So we're all about expanding their experiences in the program, both from a healthy eating and an exercise perspective. So they're always trying new things. We're always being innovative with what we're doing with the guys, and it's their program as well. So they come up with suggestions of things they'd like to do, and it's finding what it is they like and enjoy doing, because if you like and enjoy what you're doing, you're much more likely to do it on a regular basis, and that's what the program's about, in making long-term improvements to people's eating and exercise and lifestyle habits.
So on the question of the technologies, what's out there,
Yep.
the type of technologies you're looking at are actually ones that are already quite readily available, accessible, or are you having to look at developing new technologies or different approaches with that technology?
Yeah, well, I guess like with the web application we're building for Leg Up Village, so we're designing apps on the phones, we're designing the website for that. The technology, I guess, is there in different ways, shapes or forms in different industries, but we're sort of pulling ideas from a whole bunch of different things and pulling it into the one web application service. So it's quite involved, and what I've spoken about today is pretty much the top level of what we're doing. There's also a holistic health focus to that program as well, because when you're upskilling a lot of people to go into mainstream employment or to their own business, there's a lot of manpower required for that. So we're also tapping into the baby boomers that are coming into retirement at the moment that want to contribute back. So they're essentially going to be like time bankers, so that then when they provide assistance to someone, say if you used to be a painter, you're a retired painter and you're upskilling Frank for a couple of hours to paint someone's house that he's getting paid for, you'll time bank those 2 hours to use for the holistic health services we'll be providing. So everything from yoga classes, Pilates classes, and we're going to do that in an environment which is all inclusive. So it's like a community hub, kind of like Manshed, but for everyone.
So essentially, are you working as you're leading up to open the Leg Up Village app
Yep.
and website? Are you currently building networks so you can line up businesses with those with a disability, or are you like working the other way? You're working with those that you want to find employment for and say, hey, Jimmy, do you want to...
Well, both. We're basically after good people to get involved with the project in any way, shape or form. So whether that's people that need the leg up or that's people that want to provide a leg up. And the people can basically provide a leg up in terms of being a time banker like I talked about before, but we're also about bringing in the best people to service the people that need the most assistance out there, because we're a bit of a believer in currently the disability and marginalised people sectors aren't necessarily attracting the best people because the working conditions are quite poor. The organisations that are servicing a lot of the people, a lot of the charities and non-for-profits aren't actually the most effective structures necessarily for servicing the people. So that's why we're setting up both of these as social enterprises where they're sort of profitable in their own right, and then any sort of government assistance or grant sponsorship or donations we get above that can be used for the social and community purposes of what we're trying to do.
So to get this off the ground, what do you need? What are the summer hurdles coming your way? Is it the technology out there? Is it the relationships, or is it finance?
For Leg Up Village, at the moment, it's finance in terms of the funding side of things to get the web application up off the ground. The web application is we've got all the user stories designed for it. It's pretty much ready to go. We're just seeking some funding assistance for that. It's also we need some good people involved to drive it. Obviously, it's a big project that we're talking about, and we want people to come at us with ideas in terms of how they can get involved and what ideas they have with it. And it's a very inclusive environment, and we want people to be innovative in terms of what they're coming at us with. So we're open to all ideas.
So are there any models that you've been looking at where this is working effectively, or is this really ground-based, green shoots?
Well, like I talked about before, Airtask is obviously a web application out there for these paid jobs and tasks. So on a top level, we're a similar model to that, except instead of people bidding for it, we're lining up the marginalised people for it. And the public can either choose the person they want to do the project, or we can line up the people to do it for them. But the organisational structure that we're using for this particular project is quite unique to Australia. It's been case studied overseas in a number of different industries, whereby there's no hierarchy, there's no management. It's a very flat organisational structure where people are working in collaborative teams, and people are given, within reason, complete autonomy and independence to work where they want, with whom they want, whenever they want. It's up to the individual, and it's all self-driven. And what they've found is that people are a lot more accountable, people put a lot more effort and a lot more empowered when they're given the independence. And that's for anyone, both the staff, the clients, the people we're servicing and everything like that. So we're all about that. It's even to the extent where people will even be able to name their own salaries with justifications for it, which will go before a committee who will make a recommendation that they've overvalued themselves, they're spot on, or they're undervalued, and they can go with that original figure, or they can either go with that original figure or they can go with the recommendation of the team, but either way they're accountable for it. And they've found that in 95% of organisations with this sort of structure, people are aware with what they're worth, and when you take the politics out of that, they put that much more time and effort into what they're doing, and they're much happier in what they're doing, and it's led to some incredible innovations in these different industries. So that's what we're trying to bring here.
So for those watching online and sitting here in the audience, what would you, how do you need our help? What are you after? Do you need word of mouth to go out about the project, or are you looking for maybe a major sponsor to come along and help you get it off the ground?
Depends on which project you're talking about. So with Healthy Change Challenge, like, we exist solely off NDIA funding. Any grant sponsorship or donations go towards doing three things. That's towards employing people with a disability and or mental illness to help run the program. It's used to fund the university research on the program, and in the pilot program, all the participants improved across all the testing criteria. So we've got a proven very good program. And the final thing it's used for is to open the program up to people that don't have NDIA funding, that need the health intervention side of things to improve their lifestyle.
Which is always the big challenge, trying to find who's going to be most going to benefit the most out of it, but at the same time supporting them in that process. So,
yeah, but the beauty about, I mean, for example, Healthy Change Challenge is it can be replicated across a number of different industries, and we're looking at rolling it out across Australia in different hubs in the next few years. And the same with Leg Up Village, that we're not looking at these as a small scale, we're looking at these on a national, if not international scale.
Well, Lloyd Valentine, thank you very much. Round of applause for Lloyd. And anyone who's enterprising and wants to link up with Lloyd, please be in contact. He's going to be around. You can hang around. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We're off to an ad break now, Greg.
Off to an ad break. Got that right, that one. Right. Well, hang on. We're actually getting a little indication. Announcement.
Oh, I'm
Right,
sorry.
folks.
I got that around the wrong way.
So, hang on. You told me
I
was out of the
told
room.
there was an ad break before the announcement.
What's going on?
What's
Anyway,
going on?
there's the
What
ad break.
is this show coming to? Anyway, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, folks. It's Andrew, Matt, and Melanie from XYZ. Just for those of you that don't know, we're Newcastle's latest accelerator. We're really passionate about ensuring the success of entrepreneurs and startups. Our goal to do this, or the way we're doing this, is through education and diversity. So much so that I'll actually pass across to Melanie now to speak a little bit about our diversity within XYZ itself.
Okay, so I moved back to Newcastle in June last year, and I've been self-employed for the last 5 years and mainly working with CEOs and boards, but I myself had a traumatic brain injury in 2005, and as a result I became visually impaired and I'm unable to drive. So that actually, I thought it limited what I could do with clients, but now I'm in the startup space. I think that me adding that diversity to the startup sector and being able to bring that experience as well as my leadership experience into that space is really important, and to understand that we're in a whole different world now with startups and entrepreneurs, because we can celebrate diversity and different experiences in different ways.
So what we're doing, and the announcement here, is that we are starting a new series. So what we're doing is we're creating a network of mentors, people that are interested in entrepreneurship and startups, and people who are able to facilitate entrepreneurship and startups. We're doing this in collaboration with the Business Centre and also with Rio Tinto's community engagement program. So I'll hand over to Matt to speak about that.
Yeah, we've sort of pulled together what we think is a great team, and some good mentors and good speakers, and we're holding fortnightly sessions across Newcastle and the Hunter Valley. And what we're trying to achieve is to really democratise entrepreneurship, and what we mean by that is to take it to the grassroots. So from Dixon Park to Scone, we're going to be holding sessions in pubs, and what we're trying to do is pull the people out of the community who are not normally going to attend a business luncheon or a business dinner, and we're going to bang them in the same room with the mentors, investors, IP attorneys, other people, other like-minded people, and really facilitate the discussion around moving Newcastle and the Hunter forward. So it's really exciting, and Rio Tinto's Enterprise Facilitation Program, we're able to work one-on-one with clients and mentor them through the process. So we're also talking with we're also in discussions with a city in Wales and also Sacramento in California about sister city agreements and how we can expand our network into those regions. So really exciting.
So just quickly to finish up, please keep an eye out on all the socials, everything around, because we'll be announcing details of this very shortly. One of the speakers that will be getting up is Ahmed Kelly, who's a Paralympian and a good friend of ours. Ahmed has a tremendous story and is an awesome individual, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Basically, if you have any interest in being involved in startups, in entrepreneurship and in facilitating the awesome stuff that's already happening in the region, we'd love for you to come along.
Wow, thank you so much. Thanks for coming along. We're going to switch over to that ad break right now.
In the 13 years we've been here, the change has been phenomenal. I think part of that is people staying here, or people have moved here, have infused their own flavour onto the city now. Instead of talking about the rejuvenation of Newcastle, it was time to do something about it. Being a developer and builder in the background, that's what I got in to do. And we developed this old space, got rid of the dirt floors and really turned it into a pretty versatile venue. We were lucky, similar to Melbourne, in that we have these old buildings that can be rejuvenated. Honeysuckle Precinct, you've got places down near the water. So many of the things that people say, oh, I'd like to be in Melbourne or Sydney or Brisbane for, I think Newcastle has those now. I think more people have that flexibility to choose where they live if they're good at what they do or they want to start something, and I think the city has a number of those attributes that'll make it attractive to people.
Well, welcome back to the Foghorn. You're at Lunatics Live, episode 7. And joining me here is my co-presenter, Olivia. And don't you love that little ad? Hunter TV, which has been a fantastic supporter of the Lunatics Live. And, of course, the Foghorn Brewhouse here on King Street, Newcastle. Now, our second panellist and our second guest is joining us. We have Hugh Jones and we have Jacob Hughes.
Yeah, how's it going?
So, Hugh, tell us a little bit about what you've been doing with you, with yourself and Jacob.
Well, Jake and I are basically, we've been making a lot of music together, and I suppose the goal this year is to get on stage and to do the gig. And in one of the local venues, Newcastle's a great town for live music, one of the reasons why I moved here. And so that's sort of where we're at, how we arrived here.
Okay, Hugh, so first of all, do you work in disability or have you worked in disability?
Yes, I do. I do support work with Jacob, and that's how we originally met. I moved to Newcastle and was a professional musician and needed to supplement my income at the time. Found this wild ad on Gumtree. It was something like, you know, do you want to work with people, make dreams come true? It was just the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard. So anyway, I ended up doing an interview, and that's how Jake and I met and started hanging out, and it's been a pretty wild ride ever since then.
Cool. So the hanging out with Jacob has led to you guys collaborating and making music, but using the tools of technology.
Absolutely. So part of what we do is it's really important for us to build up our social networks and our community as well as community around Jacob and myself. So being a musician, I wanted to hang out with more of my musician friends or people who like music, and I thought, oh, maybe Jake could be into that too. You know, he's a young guy. What young guy doesn't want to play in a band? So that's how we thought, okay, we're going to meet people by seeing live music, going to shows. And then it got to a point where another guy we'll hang out with, Hamish, was another musician. We thought, oh, we can have a jam. You know, let's try this. And that was the spark. We're going to make music. And then it wasn't about yes or no, you can't do that. And then it became about all right, so what method are we going to use to do that? And that's sort of how we got here to this point. I've got a laptop in front of me, and we're using that at the moment for this setup. There's multiple ways we can make music, and
So you have what they call little thumb pads that you've got there.
right now, actually, I've got a little computer chip. You might be able to see if I hold it up here. This is called a Makey, and
And you can pick that up from.
you can pick you online. They're about $80, or Jcar do similar things. Just little chips, pretty basic sort of ideas, and it sends an electrical pulse, and then we can it sends multiple electrical pulses, and then we can give those pulses instructions. So right now, hey Jake, if Jake and I connect, one of us is the earth and one of us is the live wire. So someone's got 240 running through them right now. But if I hope this doesn't feed back. You might be able to hear this when Jake and I connect. I don't know if you heard that sound, but we can start playing melodies, launching beats, we could do a rave, no worries.
So explain to us, how does it work? Because Jacob's holding a spoon so it can conduct electricity.
Electricity, yep. So Jake's drawing the short straw this time, and Jake's the live wire, and I'm the earth, and that's basically all we need is a current, and we just need to complete that circuit. And then once that circuit's complete, I can then, using a program called Ableton, which is a very really user-friendly music-making program, we can program that signal, that electrical signal, to do just about anything sound-related.
Can you give us like a 30-second little set?
Yeah, we can get something happening. It's just if we can hear that. Once
On the other microphone on.
maybe let's see if we can get some sound happening.
Speakers are on this side.
No, is that you're not really hearing? I don't think it's going to quite transfer.
Well, we have a video clip that you sent across where
Yep.
Jacob and yourself and who was jamming?
And that's Hamish. He's our drummer, and he's meant to be here, but in true drummer fashion, he's late. And no, we actually didn't tell him about the gig because we didn't want to split the money.
There are no jokes about bad drummers or drummers who are late, okay? It's just, can't defend himself.
It's the roadie that hangs out on stage.
So how long has this taken to get to this point? I guess the process of trial and error and...
Yeah, so it was pretty natural the first time, and we just sort of spent 3 hours in my studio at home, and we just started coming up with more and more ideas. And now we're really getting to the point of we can incorporate technologies to build custom instruments suited to Jake, and so the idea of using things like this computer chip, or I have another sensor that I could put on Jake's wheelchair or a surfboard or anything, and wherever you touch it will give another signal, and it's a lot more live than this. So, but the main purpose of what we're doing is to do something autonomously. So Jake has then got the autonomous decision-making power, to go, dude, this tune sucks, I want out, or I can ramp this tune up at this point, and it's that creative expression and, an autonomous decision-making that we're striving for.
So that's wonderful. So basically to communicate through music.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah, or to put out some sort of vibe, It's a big passion of mine, and I hope Jake seems to be turned on by it. So, and he'll tell me when it sucks. He's like, I'm over this. We need a new hobby. So
then-
Jake's into fads too.
So then, what's the future for you two? Are you dreaming of big gigs on stage?
This year, we'd definitely like to get on stage. So that'll be our first step, and then going from there, Jake so has a schedule that varies. He does when we're more prepared. Jake does a lot of conference talking about autonomous decision making and independent living, and so we'll just sort of work around his tour schedule and go from there.
Well, we're actually going to play the clip that you sent to us, which is Hugh and Jacob and your drummer, Hamish, doing the jamming. So, which will be a demonstration of the adaptive technologies that they've been working on. So, please fire.
Ready?
One, two, three, four.
Yeah.
Play this.
So, just talk a little bit about what you're doing there.
So what we're doing here, this is using the Makey Maker that I've got with us, and we're basically experimenting with making triggers in an accessible and ergonomic layout, so that with Jake's mobility, he can then start, stop tunes and launch clips. Right here, this is in my studio at home. So we've got Hamish is drumming on some electric drums, and Jake is guiding my fingers here to launch, to press buttons that basically trigger off different samples and different sounds. And again, it's a very modern, contemporary way of making music. And, it's one step up from a harmonica.
So I guess the next stage for this is what? Apart from going out, jamming, hitting the streets, the nightclubs, DJing?
Yeah, being rich and famous, rehab, the rest of it. So, no, we've got no demons here. We're cool. No, the next step for us is to work on a controller, to work on incorporating this technology into something a little bit more solidified. That's suited to Jake. It's building Jake his very own instrument, so he can then autonomously start bringing ideas to the table.
Bring it in. So he has control over that process.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Look, thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. So, round of applause, Hugh Jones, Jacob Hughes, an adaptive technology and music
today
making.
On behalf of accessibility in the city.
Awesome. Thank you
My
very
name is
much.
Chad Ramage,
Awesome.
and I need to be in
Thanks
control.
very much, Greg. Cheers.
Whether it be as a part of going out socially or going out for work, I need to know A, where we're in the park, B, where we're going, and C, the best way for me to get there. Whether that shortest point may have stairs, so I may need to go around a bit of the longer way. So how am I going to solve that problem? I have the technology. There is a 360-degree camera which I have imported, and I've built a mount for that to roll around and find the best ways to move around the city. And I'm uploading that to YouTube to host that video content to get that out for people to see. So ideally, accessibility is the first target, but it could also be used as a tourism point to show those who are thinking about coming here to have a look at virtual reality. Or if you can't actually get to Newcastle if you're in hospital, or would like to see the Honeysuckle Harbour, or you can like to see Dunbar or Space. So this assists not only people with accessibility issues, but carers, family members and friends who are looking for the best way to get out and assist with that social inclusion. So meet Newcastle, where do you want to go?
So Chad Ramage, welcome. Accessibility in the city.
Hey.
So, mate, the genesis for starting up this, which is basically a venture, is it a joint venture or your own sort of own venture on your own?
Currently rolling solo at the moment, literally. Looking to get some more content created just to show initially the fantastic areas that Newcastle has to offer. But yeah, accessibility in the city kind of kicked off when the Anzac Walk was first released. And I'd been driving past it and looking up at it and the many flights of stairs. And I thought it'd be nice to just see what it's like up there. And yeah, it wasn't until someone told me that there were actual accessible parks up the top and a really long line of area that you could actually go and check out a pretty substantial amount of it, and it was only that last little bit at the end that you couldn't see. So yeah, I thought it'd be a fantastic spot to start filming, and even from a tourism kind of perspective to show off what Newcastle has to offer.
So what is accessibility in the city? What are you videoing? What's your purpose?
So it's not purely for just people in wheelchairs, but also people who can only travel short distances, or if carers or family members might like to have a look at an area before heading out with someone with a disability or just can't access a lot of areas as others can, be able to check it out on YouTube or social media channels.
So essentially, are you creating like an info page and dotting on maps in Newcastle where we can go that has great accessibility?
That would be a great next step for it, and something I'd definitely like to look at. Currently, I've been mapping the Bathers Way with the virtual reality camera that I have that does the 360-degree footage, and we've currently got from down around the Seafood Co-op near Carrington all the way up to Queen's Wharf Hotel. So all of that is visible now on YouTube, and I'd like to continue mapping around those areas.
So that's your main platform at the moment, YouTube, for the hosting of the content, the video content?
It is, that's right. I wouldn't like to really start reinventing the wheel and having its own platform, maybe down the track.
Well, it may overcome some of the issues, because in fact Safari told me that it did not support 360, so I had to flick over to Firefox or Chrome. So,
okay.
So there, Apple, did you hear what I said? Couldn't access it with Safari, 360, come on. Okay, get with the program. So mate, let's talk the tech. So you actually imported a specialised camera, which is built by Samsung.
I did. It's the Samsung Gear 360, which actually has two 195-degree lenses, one on each side. So that gives a 30-degree overlap for that stitching to pick the best spot for it to not look really jagged and clunky. And that can film in up to 4K quality. And I've been doing just below that at the moment, because it seems to run a little bit smoother when syncing to your mobile device.
Before we jumped on air, you were talking briefly about some of the technology that you're using personally. So we're just going to jump topic a little bit. Accessibility in the city sounds wonderful, but let us know a little bit about what you're doing with technology to, I guess, rehabilitate your legs and mobility.
I'm looking at getting significantly back into different kind of rehab, as mentioned in the last section. A bit more physical rehabilitation to get some more strength through legs and building my core. So thanks to some NDIS funding, I've actually received, it looks a bit like a Mech Warrior suit that you can transfer across into and strap in knee blocks, chest block, and it will stand you up. So just getting that standing strength back into calves, thighs, building core strength for balance, which once you've been in a chair for a while, it's so hard to get that back.
So this is the Helen program, isn't it?
This one isn't Helen. This is a
it's not.
different one that I'm using through like just a personal one. And after that, actually having some renovations done at home to try and get a bit of hydrotherapy happening as well.
What's the technology going on there then? Like, have you noticed in X amount of years a great leap in technology for this form of physical work?
I think the affordability in the technology to be able to bring it to the home, this kind of machinery, it's still very expensive, but with the ability of NDIS coming in and being able to support some of that funding, it's something that's just become much more available. Where, like at the moment, if I was to try and do hydrotherapy, I can't get my wheelchair in and out of the car. So by the time you get from home to there, get out of the car, get into the pool, train, back into the car, back home, get ready for work. It's the fact that I don't have to do that with the stand-up machine at, say, the gym. I'm able to do that at home in comfort. You get the majority of your time in that rehabilitation and you can carry on with your day-to-day.
And tell me, the NDIS, it plays a role in helping you fund that, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So the stand-up machine itself was completely funded by them. They've done some modifications to my bathroom, kitchen to allow me to shower myself and not need assistance to get in or out, meal preparation, and hopefully the next step that we look at will be getting that wheelchair mount in and out of a vehicle.
So, obviously, independence is a big thing for just about everyone on the planet. So is that where the motivation for accessibility in the city came from?
It did, and it's kind of one of the last things hamstringing me at the moment as to getting out and getting more of that footage and more video to go live with, that I can't go out and do that myself because I need someone to get the wheelchair in and out. So that last little bit of independence, which will just really open the world up for me, will allow me to capture much more of this video as well, to hopefully help other people see areas before they go there and maybe reduce a bit of that anxiety people get going to new locations.
Well, certainly it's extraordinary things that are happening, and I think to some extent what you're doing, but also what's also happening personally for you, because you work full-time at TAFE as at the web or intranet Meister, aren't you?
Yeah, so I manage the Hunter TAFE intranet through the marketing section just out of Tyers Hill. And before that, worked on some other SharePoint and content management projects. So if we do start going down the path of doing even more accessible things like accessible home tours, so if people in wheelchairs are looking to buy a property, if we could even start doing those virtual tours of accessible properties and maybe be a one-stop shop for that. But yeah, even sporting events and like for parking, access toilets once you're in there, seats.
I think it's wonderful. I'm really inspired by what you're doing. Chad, stay here. We're going to have a panel discussion where we'll talk about the ups and downs of the technology industry with disability and innovation. We're going to cut to an ad, I believe, Gregory.
That's correct.
And we'll be back with the panel. Thanks so much.
I'm Wickham the Merriweather, pretty much every day.
We are Katara to Westfield.
I'm all the way from Lambton to the university. It's so easy.
I am Whitebridge to Adamstown.
I'm Maryville to West End. I just love being active.
Pleasure without pain, love without heartbreak, perspective, reflection, say. When we were younger, we can see the longest time.
I'm Hamilton to Newcastle. Why wouldn't you?
We're Carrington to Carrington.
I'm Islington to Cookshill. Mainly for catch-ups.
I'm East End to Honeysuckle. And sometimes further.
All my days, through all my days. Now that I've got your life, I won't let it go to waste.
so much to enjoy by bike in Newcastle. Find your path and get on your bike today.
And of course, welcome back to Lunatics Live, episode 7 at the Foghorn Brewhouse. Now, the thing that we have to remember is that all of this is coming to you with technology, but it's been driven by people. Behind the scenes, we've got some fantastic people working with us. So we've got Kathy, we've got Rod, and we've got Peter, and of course, we've got Gordon, who's doing his job there. He's down on the floor taking snaps with his phone. Very good. Everyone smile. But what we're going to do now is we've invited our guests who were speaking to us before during the program to explore some more deeply the issues of disability, technology, and where it's going, but where can be the improvements, particularly from a regional perspective.
Yeah, Greg, I think what I've picked up on our discussions this evening is about connectivity and the need to be social and also healthy. So I guess I'd like to throw it over to Lloyd, and I'm going to cross-pollinate some of the discussions right now. So you work a lot in fitness. How do you see what these guys are doing with music? How do you see how that could be involved with some of your people? Like we're talking about social gatherings or...
Can I jump in on this? We could totally do a gig for a workout session, just putting it out there.
Music and movement is just another area that we're exploring at the moment. So yeah, that's the kind of thing we're doing. It's a holistic health and wellbeing program. So it's not just moderate intensity exercise or anything like that. We're looking at all different types of mindfulness. We're looking at all different types of things that the challengers or participants enjoy. And quite often they don't even know what they enjoy because so many of them have been wrapped in cotton wool all their lives, have been doing the same thing for so long. So we're forever up for new ideas and just trying new things and seeing what works, what doesn't work, and what the guys are engaging with and whatever else. So.
Yeah, because it's, mental illness, mental health is a big part of staying fit and healthy and, getting out there so you don't fall too back. And what I love about what the three of you guys are talking about is really putting yourself out there to do some mindful activities and stay on top of things, and then you're crossing technology to make it work. I think that's really exciting. Do you want to comment on that, Chad?
Yeah. I just wanted to say I don't think you'd beat having music and fitness in the same thing. You'd put them in a trance.
We've actually done some silent discos with the crew before. We've done some virtual reality with the guys before. They've already got a lot of the crew have already got quite a vivid imagination, and when they can sort of bring that to real life in the virtual reality world, it's amazing how much we can get them moving without even realising it. So there's so many different areas we can touch and explore in this, and from a technological perspective, another thing that we've been doing is the tracking technology we've been using with the participants in the program. They've got these special tracking watches, which I think are worth about $1,000 each, which use basically gravitational forces to see what sort of energy output the participants have been expending, and they basically compare the results before the program and 12 weeks into it, and it basically tracks everything and much more than the functionality of these multi-sport watches and things like that as well.
And I guess in many ways it's the one thing we don't actually fully appreciate. While to some extent there are critics against all this technology and is it fantastic, and then some of it is a bit wanky, particularly motion detection, the fact that your phone is a GPS, it's measuring every step if you have it on your body. But from another perspective, if you have an issue with disability or movement, it's actually an extraordinary tool. So I'm just wondering, Chad, maybe somebody to talk about that.
There is some trials happening which I haven't been able to look too much into as of yet, but using actual virtual reality headsets with treadmills and hoists to assist with pushing the neurological signal to the muscle groups that you're using based on the footage that you're seeing through the virtual headset. So just forcing your brain to push those messages down that they haven't done for such a long period, to just trick your brain into pushing down, saying, oh, hold on a minute, we're moving here. And it starts to, again, bring that circulation back, bring that strength back, and just even get more movement through those muscle and leg groups. So that's something that it'd be great to see if we could see some of that starting to happen in Newcastle. And that's the kind of thing that I would be able to do some of that filming towards, even at higher speed or slower speed, to show how fast you could do that movement on those treadmills. So,
I think, just touching on that, they actually discovered by accident, they were looking at attaching artificial limbs and things like that to people with quadriplegia and paraplegia. But when they actually put the virtual headsets on, they actually found that people were linking those neurological pathways to those areas of the body that had previously been dormant, and they thought that there was no way that they would actually move again. So it's super fascinating and intriguing, like where we can go with this.
Just to remind everyone, you're at Lunatics Live here at the Foghorn, and joining us is our panel discussion. We've got Chad Ramage here, we have Hugh Jones, Jacob Hughes, and Lloyd Valentine. And we're talking about disability in tech. Now, the one thing you mentioned there, Lloyd, and I'd like to get comment from everybody, is the reality, well, the possibilities with virtual reality or augmented reality. So perhaps you're at the moment experimenting with 360. So Chad, do you want to head off in that direction?
Yeah. Through the VR headset, you can also have a pass-through camera. So you can have your phone in there and seeing whether it be an image of a beach, a walkway, a cycleway, but if you actually had those muscle and leg groups firing as you're going on the treadmill, you can set it to an augmented reality state of being able to look down through the lens of the camera in your phone and actually watch your legs going through that movement as well. So if you had, say, as Lloyd said, the sort of electric pulses happening on those muscle groups as well as your brain signalling to get that signal back, it'd be a great benefit. Yeah.
Hugh, I just wondered from a musical perspective, how can music play a part of the whole augmented reality? Because, in fact, there's some technology. I saw some designers, actually clothes designers in Mexico, that have been working with clothing that they fit on, but also it tracks your movements. With all your movements, it actually creates a sound at the same time. So in a way, it's an oral kind of augmented reality.
Yeah. That's funny, that movement tracking sound. I've been talking to a friend who's an engineer about sensors that we can fit to the skin, and just the basic movement. We can then give that a program to trigger off whatever sound we want to create. So I think for us, musically at this stage, I'm a little bit more grassroots on it, and it's the idea of our reality being augmented, of just going, this is what we want to do, and we can do that quite easily. Technology is so accessible these days, and are quite affordable too, to an extent, that we're just limited by our imaginations at this time. And then it's great to be here and start bumping into people and go, well, our imaginations are quite limited, so we can step this up, and it'll be interesting to see what could come from here.
I was just going to add, also, technology from the social perspective as an enabler as well is huge. So, for example, with Healthy Change Challenge, we've got a Facebook group which is actually managed by the participants themselves, and it's a way for them to not only connect with each other but also express to other people out there in the community what they're getting up to in the program, and they upload the photos and videos of what they're getting up to. So it's a great evidence-based thing for the likes of NDIA of what these guys are doing, but it's also an avenue for them to connect with one another. and also for a lot of people with the mental health issues who are stuck at home and sort of not necessarily interacting with other people in the real world, in the virtual world. It gives them an avenue to sort of connect with what's going on. I mean, in an ideal world, we'd like to see them sort of interacting face to face, but for some people that's not a possibility due to physical barriers, due to geographical. But it's just another example of how technology can be used to improve the quality of life for a lot of people. Yeah.
So broadly speaking, from your perspectives, what do you see in, say, if we look at a plan, what are the obstacles in the next 2, 5, 10 years to where people who have disabilities, those of us who have disabilities, can actually start to enjoy the type of life that I think everyone would have a right to some extent? What are the obstacles there?
I guess initially it's always going to be cost, but with advancements in technologies, it is becoming cheaper. With later evolutions of devices that come out yearly, it lowers the price of the previous ones. So even the Samsung 4s or the iPhone 4s or 5s with accelerometers in them, you can then use those on YouTube to look at 360 content, or even having that kind of pedometer kind of fitness machines in those devices. I think, that financial cap is really going to be the initial one, but with proper funding, hopefully that is going to become more accessible.
Hugh, Lloyd?
Yep. Social support. We need people at our gigs, so we can afford to keep doing gigs. So we haven't got one yet, but when the announcement comes. But that is a big one, I think, for us, is having that social support and having people that want to throw in ideas and want to throw in energy and want to throw in time to what we're doing, and that's how things grow.
I think it's also a matter of tapping into or finding out what the capabilities are of a lot of people with a disability as well. I mean, the way that a lot of people with a disability or mental illness, the way their brain functions is on another level of intelligence that we're only really just starting to tap into. For example, there was a guy who I was working with who we discovered had he has Asperger's, and we discovered he had pretty much a hidden talent of, he's an amazing, unique artist, whereby, just to give an example, he was walking down a busy intersection in Sydney, looked around the intersection for about 10 seconds, and then a week later replicated the whole intersection detail for detail, where everyone was, all the street signs and everything like that, with his incredible photographic memory. So the potential to tap into that for businesses out there, for other organisations, to find how people can contribute in their own special way. Hopefully technology can be an enabler for that, but we're only just starting to see just what a lot of the people are capable of.
Absolutely. The world is opening up in every single way. Gentlemen, I'd like to thank you very much for coming on board this evening. This week, Hunter TV put on their Facebook page that Newcastle is listed in the top 7 or one of 7 cities doing great things with technology. So as Newcastle grows as a smart city, you guys and people like you are very much contributing to this great movement that's going on.
So from our live audience here, a round of applause for our panellists. Thank you very much. So coming to you live, we're going to wrap up now. Lunatics Live, episode 7. Thank you very much for joining us, and this will be available out there. And
we're going to close tonight with a video from Head Start. My production company, Good Idea, actually recently produced this. It's not live to the public yet, but they've done some preliminary screenings and they have okayed to show it with you this evening. The reason why we're showing this is because it's a different way of educating in the space about how to get your head around ABI injuries. So an ABI is an acquired brain injury. It's something that affects a lot of people in Australia, mostly due to car crashes or alcohol and other kind of related issues. And Head Start as an education centre wanted to change their way that they educate about basically don't be too foolish and look after your brain. So we'll close on that. We'll close on the video, and thank you once again to the panel, and thank you once again to the audience for coming along this evening.
Here's something with brain injury would like you to know. You ready? Your head is not a basketball. It's true. See, a basketball can hit a wall and it'll squish in and then plump out again. Your head won't do that. Your brain might squish in a little bit, but it probably won't plump out again. You can bounce a basketball hard on the ground, bounces right up again. This is not true of your head. It bounces about as well as a watermelon. Ugh. You can throw, kick, punch, shake, and drop a basketball. Do that with a head, yours or someone else's, and a head does not react in a basketball-like fashion. Some other things your head isn't. A brick. A sponge. A video game. Yep, there's no saving and resetting. And you can't go to the brain store and get a new one. Neither can your friend.
Thank you very much.
In fact,
Thank you very much.
here's something with the brain injury would like you to know. You ready? Your head is not a basketball. It's true. See, a basketball hit a wall and it'll squish and then plump out again. Your head won't do
Super interested to hear
your
more
brain
about what
might
you're up to.
squish in a little bit, but it probably won't
Actually
plump
applied
out.
for a business
You can
accelerator
bounce a
through
basketball
Sydney.
hard on the ground, bounces right up again.
Yeah.
This is not true of your head.
From the work
Bounces about as well as a watermelon.
So does
You can throw, kick, punch, shake, and drop a basketball.
that's where I went through
Do
kind
that
of
with a head,
that video that was shown at the
someone
start
else's,
was
and a
as
head
part
does
of the
not react in a
innovation
basketball-like fashion.
Innovation Awards.
Some other
and
things.
I think if you won that, you'd end
brick.
up some hours and things through the business, but
A video game.
I didn't win.
Yep. There's no saving and resetting.
Get in touch to them anyway.
And you can't go to the brain store and get a new one. Neither can your friend. In fact, instead of bouncing back, a head
That's
will
my
get
advice, and I was like,
injured. And your life will change in an instant. So what's that like?
I think it's that kind of.
Every brain injury is different,
Like I know
but
business
here are a few
works
things
and
that
everything.
are pretty typical.
Mentoring guys.
A year into recovery, you still need help doing things you mastered when you were a kid. Your speech may be slurred, so people treat you differently. You might have loneliness, depression, poor motor skills, terrible memory, so it's hard to hold down a job, maintain a relationship or friends. The worst is, you don't feel like you anymore. You kind of feel like you've turned into something.
No, it'd be good to get something.
But life goes
Get
on.
into more things like
Years
this.
later,
Unless you're talking to people, you kind
many
of
brain injured people do have a good life, but it's always tough. Do you see where we're going with this? Look, we know that you know your head isn't a basketball, yet sometimes you act like it is. You want to get there on time, you've got to send that text. You're angry, you want to swing a punch, you feel like having a good time. Drugs, alcohol, more drugs, a few more drinks, it'll be okay, because the human head is a basketball. Except, it's not. And when should you remember this? Not after you've tossed the coin. Before that. The moment you're deciding whether or not to take that risk. Before it's too late. That's when we would like you to remember our heads aren't basketballs. Or not. The choice is yours. But now you know.